Picture this. It's 3 in the morning, and Sarah is sitting on her bathroom floor crying into a towel so he won't hear her. This is the 4th time this month she's done this. Tomorrow she'll wake up, put on makeup to cover the exhaustion, and tell everyone at work that everything's fine. Her friends stopped asking if she's okay because they already know the answer will be a lie. Her family gave up trying to convince her to leave 2 years ago. Everyone around her can see the toxicity eating her alive, but she stays anyway. And when you ask her why, she'll give you a dozen rational-sounding reasons. She'll talk about the lease, the shared dog, the good memories, how he's trying to change. But none of that is the real reason. The real reason is so dark, so deeply buried in human psychology that most people never admit it out loud. Some never even admit it to themselves. And understanding this reason will change everything you think you know about love and attachment. Here's what everyone gets wrong about toxic relationships. They think people stay because they're weak, because they lack self-respect, or because they genuinely believe things will get better. Those are surface explanations that make us feel better about not understanding. The truth is far more disturbing. People stay in toxic relationships because on some unconscious level, the toxicity itself becomes the bonding mechanism. The pain becomes proof of love. The chaos becomes home. Your brain has a twisted relationship with suffering when it comes to emotional bonds. There's a psychological phenomenon that most people have never heard of, something researchers call trauma bonding. But even that term doesn't capture how insidious this really is. Every time your partner hurts you and then shows you affection afterward, your brain releases a cocktail of chemicals that's more addictive than almost anything else you'll experience. The relief after pain creates a neurological pattern stronger than consistent love ever could. Think about it. When someone treats you well all the time, your brain adapts, normalizes it, takes it for granted. But when someone hurts you deeply and then offers you a moment of tenderness, that moment feels like salvation. Your nervous system interprets it as survival. This is the addiction nobody talks about. You're not addicted to the person. You're addicted to the cycle of pain and relief, to the emotional roller coaster that makes you feel intensely alive in a way that stable relationships never could.
Michael stayed with his girlfriend for 6 years, despite her constant criticism, public humiliation, and occasional physical aggression. His friends couldn't understand it because Michael was successful, attractive, had options. Why would someone like him tolerate that treatment? Here's what Michael finally admitted after therapy. The moments when she was kind to him felt like winning the lottery. Those rare instances when she laughed at his jokes, when she initiated intimacy, when she said something remotely affectionate. Those moments gave him a high that nothing else in his life could match. He wasn't staying for her, he was staying for that hit of relief. That brief window when the pain stopped and he could breathe again. His brain had learned to interpret the absence of suffering as the presence of love. This is what I call the desert water effect. When you're dying of thirst in a desert, a single drop of water feels like an oasis. But if you lived near a river, you wouldn't even notice that same drop. Context changes value, and pain changes the context of everything. Your brain literally rewires itself around toxicity. The neural pathways associated with your partner become intertwined with stress responses, with cortisol spikes, with the fight or flight system. You're not in love anymore, you're in survival mode, and your brain has confused the two. But here's where it gets even darker. There's a part of you that doesn't want the relationship to get better. I know that sounds insane, but stay with me. If the relationship suddenly became healthy and stable, you'd lose the intensity, the drama, the chemical highs that your system has come to depend on. Elena would pick fights with her boyfriend over nothing, manufacture problems where none existed, create drama out of thin air. Therapists called it self-sabotage, but that wasn't quite right. She wasn't sabotaging the relationship, She was maintaining it in the only form her nervous system recognized as real. Calm felt wrong to her. Peace felt like the absence of connection. Her brain had been trained by years of family dysfunction to equate love with chaos. So when things got too stable, she'd unconsciously destabilize them to feel that familiar sense of home. This is the chaos comfort paradox. Your nervous system develops a comfort zone that includes the very things destroying you. The familiar pain becomes safer than unfamiliar peace, because at least you know how to navigate the pain. Peace feels like foreign territory where you don't know the rules. And then there's the identity trap, something even more sinister. You've invested so much time, so much emotional energy, so much of your story into this relationship that leaving would mean admitting you wasted years of your life. Your ego can't handle that truth.
So your mind creates elaborate justifications. You tell yourself that all relationships are hard, that love requires sacrifice, that you've already invested too much to quit now. These aren't reasons. They're defense mechanisms protecting you from facing a devastating reality. Psychologists call this the sunk cost fallacy. But in relationships, it's more than economics. It's about identity. You've told everyone this is your person. You've built your life around them. Walking away means reconstructing your entire sense of self, and that's terrifying. James stayed in a dead relationship for 8 years past its expiration date. Not because he loved her, not because things were good, but because he told his family, his friends, his coworkers that she was the one. He built a narrative, and changing that narrative felt like admitting he was a fool. His pride kept him prisoner. Every additional month he stayed made it harder to leave, because now he'd have to explain not just why he was leaving, but why he didn't leave sooner. The relationship became a jail built from his own ego. Here's another layer nobody discusses. Toxic relationships often fulfill a dark need for drama that you don't want to admit you have. Humans are wired for intensity, for stimulation, for emotional extremes. Peaceful love can feel boring to a nervous system trained on chaos. You grew up watching movies and TV shows that taught you love looks like passion, fights, tearful reconciliations, and dramatic gestures. Healthy love, consistent, stable, calm, doesn't look like what your cultural programming told you to expect. So your brain rejects it as not real love. This is the Hollywood Toxicity Model burned into your subconscious. You've been conditioned to believe that if it doesn't hurt, if there's no jealousy, if there's no drama, then it's not real passion. Your brain mistakes toxicity for intensity, and intensity for authenticity. But the darkest truth of all is this: some part of you believes you deserve the pain. Deep down, beneath all the justifications and explanations, there's a voice that says, this is what you're worth, this is all you can expect, this is the best you'll ever get. That voice didn't come from nowhere. It came from childhood wounds, from past rejections, from every time someone made you feel small or unworthy or too much or not enough. Those experiences carved grooves in your psyche, and toxic relationships flow right into those grooves like water following the path of least resistance. Your partner's mistreatment confirms what you already believed about yourself, and there's a twisted comfort in that confirmation, in having your worst fears about your own worth validated. At least it's consistent with your internal narrative. At least it makes sense.
Rebecca's boyfriend constantly told her she was lucky he put up with her, that no one else would want someone so emotional, so needy, so difficult. And instead of leaving, she tried harder to prove her worth to him, because his words matched the voice already living in her head. She wasn't staying because she loved him. She was staying because he was saying out loud what she'd been thinking about herself for years. His abuse felt like honesty, like someone finally seeing her clearly. This is how psychological abuse works. It pretends to be truth-telling. The relationship becomes a mirror, reflecting your own self-hatred back at you. And you stay because leaving would mean confronting the fact that you've been complicit in your own mistreatment, that you've accepted a reality you should have rejected long ago. There's also the fear factor, but not the kind you think. You're not just afraid of being alone. You're afraid of who you'll discover you are without this relationship defining you. You're afraid that without someone to fight with, to fix, to focus on, you'll have to face yourself. The toxic relationship becomes a full-time job that distracts you from every other problem in your life. As long as you're managing their moods, walking on eggshells, trying to keep the peace, you don't have to deal with your career dissatisfaction, your lack of purpose, your unresolved trauma, or your existential emptiness. Tyler realized after his breakup that his toxic relationship had been a convenient excuse for not pursuing his dreams. As long as she was the problem, he didn't have to acknowledge that he was scared to try, scared to fail, scared to actually go after what he wanted. She was his alibi for a life unlived. This is the distraction dependency. The relationship's chaos keeps you so busy that you never have to ask yourself the deeper questions. Who am I? What do I want? Why am I here? Those questions are far more terrifying than any fight with your partner. And here's the thing that will mess with your head. Sometimes you're staying because leaving would mean they win. Your pride, your stubbornness, your need to prove something keeps you locked in a war you can't win. You're not fighting for the relationship. You're fighting to not lose. You've turned love into a competition, intimacy into a battlefield. And somewhere along the way, you forgot that you're supposed to be on the same team. Now it's about who can hurt who more, who needs who less, who has more power. That's not love. That's warfare. Lisa would never let her boyfriend see her cry, never admit when he hurt her, never show weakness. She'd hurt him back, withdraw affection, play mind games. She told herself she was protecting herself, but really, she was just matching his toxicity with her own. They were both prisoners in a relationship neither could admit was destroying them.
The relationship becomes about winning individual battles while losing the war. Every argument you win pushes you both further from anything resembling actual connection, but you can't stop because stopping would feel like surrender. So you stay locked in this dance of mutual destruction, each of you waiting for the other to leave first, each of you too proud to admit that you're both slowly killing each other. And the years pass, and the damage accumulates, and you both become versions of yourselves you don't recognize. But underneath all these dark truths is one more layer, the foundation that supports everything else. Familiarity. Your brain chooses familiar pain over unfamiliar peace every single time because familiar equals safe in the ancient wiring of your nervous system. Even if the familiar thing is killing you, even if it's toxic and destructive and wrong, your brain recognizes the patterns, knows how to respond, can predict what's coming next. And that predictability creates a sense of control, however false, that your mind desperately craves. This is why you keep going back after you leave, why you answer their texts at 2 in the morning, why you give them another chance even though they've already had 17. You're not weak, you're human, and humans are wired to seek the familiar even when the familiar is fatal. Breaking free from a toxic relationship isn't about finding strength to leave once. It's about rewiring your entire nervous system's understanding of what love looks like, what you deserve, and what home feels like. It's about making peace feel more comfortable than chaos. You have to grieve not just the relationship, but the version of love you thought you wanted. You have to mourn the fantasy, admit the truth, and face the reality that you stayed far longer than you should have because of programming you didn't even know you had. The way out starts with brutal honesty. Stop making excuses. Stop justifying. Stop explaining away the inexcusable. Look at the relationship as if you were advising your best friend. What would you tell them to do? That answer is what you need to hear. Then comes the hard part. You have to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. You have to sit with the loneliness, the uncertainty, the fear of the unknown. You have to prove to your nervous system that you can survive without the chaos you've been using as a life raft. Every day you stay in toxicity, you're teaching yourself that you're not worth more. Every day you accept mistreatment, you're confirming the lie that this is all you deserve. The relationship won't change until you do. And the truth is, the relationship doesn't need to change. You need to leave.
You already know what you need to do. You've known for months, maybe years. The question was never about knowledge. It was about courage. And courage doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you finally value your future more than you fear your present. The dark truth about why people stay in toxic relationships is that staying feels easier than facing everything leaving would force you to confront. But easy and right are rarely the same thing, and the cost of easy is your entire life. So here's your choice. You can keep playing this game, keep pretending things might change, keep sacrificing yourself on the altar of potential, or you can walk away and discover who you become when you're not constantly fighting for scraps of affection from someone who should be giving you freely what you're breaking yourself trying to earn. The relationship is teaching you something, but probably not what you think. It's not teaching you about love. It's teaching you about your relationship with yourself, about what you believe you're worth, about the lies you tell yourself to avoid uncomfortable truths. Your liberation won't come from them changing. It will come from you realizing that you don't need them to change because you're no longer willing to stay for who they are. That's the shift. That's the breakthrough. That's the moment everything actually transforms. Stop waiting for them to become the person you need them to be. Stop trying to love them into evolution. Stop believing that your loyalty will eventually be rewarded with the relationship you deserve. You can't earn what should be freely given, and you can't fix what doesn't want to be fixed. The hardest pill to swallow is that you've been choosing this. Every day you stay is a choice. Every excuse you make is a choice. Every time you go back is a choice. And owning that truth is the only way to make a different choice. You are not a victim of love. You're a prisoner of your own patterns, your own fears, your own unwillingness to face what leaving would mean. And the key to your cell has been in your pocket the entire time.